I was folding laundry in my small, quiet apartment when my phone rang. It was an ordinary evening, the kind where nothing ever happens. The same worn-out couch, the same faded curtains, the same life I had carefully designed to look invisible. But then my phone screen lit up. Ethan, my son. A soft smile appeared on my face instantly. No matter how much time passed, seeing his name still warmed something inside me. "Hey, Mom, you got a minute?" His voice came through, light, hopeful. "For you." "Always," I said gently, sitting down in my old armchair, the one that creaked every time I moved. There was a pause. Then he said something that made time stop. "Emily's parents want to meet you. Dinner this Saturday at their house." I didn't respond immediately because I already knew exactly which house he was talking about. Parents are Richard and Catherine Walker. The air in my lungs disappeared. The room felt colder, not anger. No, anger burns fast. What I felt was something else, something colder. Something patient. "You still there?" "Yes," I said calmly, too calmly. "That sounds lovely." Inside, something had just awakened. Because 25 years ago, Richard and Catherine Walker had destroyed my life, Ethan kept talking, unaware of the storm inside me. "Good people, Mom, just a bit traditional. You know, old money type, but they'll like you." I almost laughed. Like me. They didn't even remember me. Of course they didn't. People like them never remember the lives they ruin. After the call ended, I sat there in silence. The dim yellow light filled my apartment, the same apartment my son believed was my entire world. He didn't know about the penthouse. He didn't know about the company. He didn't know that his simple mother was actually Diana Clark, CEO of a multi-million-dollar empire. I had hidden everything on purpose. Because sometimes, the best strategy is to let people underestimate you. 25 years ago, I was young, brilliant, naive. I had created a design, an architectural concept that could have changed my entire career. I trusted the wrong people. Catherine Walker stood in that boardroom, presenting my work as her own, smiling, taking credit. And when I tried to speak, they had me removed, fired, erased. Richard made sure no one hired me again. For 2 years, I had nothing, no job, no home, no future. But I didn't break, I adapted. I changed my name. I rebuilt everything from nothing. And I learned one thing that changed my life forever. Revenge isn't about anger. It's about timing. Now, 25 years later, they had invited me into their home. They thought I was weak. They thought I was nothing. And this time, I wasn't going to correct them. I was going to let them believe it. Saturday arrived. Perfect weather, perfect timing, perfect setup. I stood in front of the mirror wearing a cheap floral dress, outdated, simple, forgettable, exactly how they expected me to look. My shoes were slightly worn. My purse looked old. Even my jewelry was fake, every detail carefully chosen. This wasn't just an outfit. It was camouflage. Ethan picked me up, smiling nervously. "You look nice, Mom." I smiled back. "Thank you, sweetheart." The drive to their mansion felt shorter than it should have because every second brought me closer to something I had waited 25 years for. And then we arrived. The Walker estate stood tall, elegant, powerful, arrogant, just like them. The gates opened slowly. Almost dramatically. Like the past itself was welcoming me back. Emily opened the door, warm smile, kind eyes. At least my son had chosen well. But then she stepped aside, and there she was, Catherine Walker, same sharp eyes, same cold elegance, same woman who had destroyed me. Her gaze moved over me, judging, measuring, dismissing. "Mrs. Clark, welcome." She didn't recognize me, not even a flicker. Good. That made everything so much easier. They thought they invited a simple, harmless woman to dinner. But they had just welcomed the biggest mistake of their lives into their home. And they still had no idea that she already owned everything they were about to lose. The dinner where they insulted the wrong woman. The moment I stepped inside the Walker mansion, I could feel it. That same air, that same arrogance. Nothing had changed except me. The house was exactly how I remembered, grand, polished, and painfully perfect. Every painting on the wall whispered legacy. Every piece of furniture screamed wealth. But to me, it all looked like something else, a stage. And tonight, they were the ones performing. "Dinner is almost ready," Emily said warmly, guiding us inside. She was kind. Genuine, and for a brief second, I almost felt bad for what was about to happen, almost. Then Richard Walker entered the room, glass of wine in hand, confident posture, the kind of man who had never been told no in his life. He looked at me briefly, not even properly, just enough to acknowledge my existence. "So, you're Ethan's mother?" A question, a statement, dismissive, careless. I smiled softly. "Yes, it's lovely to finally meet you." Inside, I was watching, measuring, remembering. We sat down for dinner in a massive dining room. The table alone could seat 20 people. Crystal chandeliers above us, fine china beneath us. And in the middle of it all, me wearing a cheap dress exactly where they thought I belonged. Catherine made sure of the seating arrangement. She placed me right beside her. Control, that's what she always needed. So Diana, she began, cutting her steak with perfect precision. Ethan tells us you've worked in offices. The pause before "in offices" said everything. Kept my tone light. Mostly administrative work, nothing very exciting. I see, she exchanged a look with Richard, the kind of look that said, we understand exactly what kind of person you are. Well, she continued, honest work is still respectable. Still, that one word hit harder than the rest, but I smiled. Of course. Shifted uncomfortably, I noticed. But Emily gently touched his arm, silently telling him don't interfere. Perfect. And you live in Riverside, correct? Catherine asked. That must be quite different from what Emily is used to. Her tone was polite, but underneath pure judgment. It's quiet, I said calmly. Affordable. Richard chuckled slightly. Living within your means is important. Yes, Catherine added, leaning forward. Some people try to live beyond their place. It never ends well. It was the insult, clean, direct, intentional. I lowered my eyes slightly, playing the role. I completely agree. Inside, I was counting every word, every insult, every assumption. Because tonight, they were writing their own downfall. Dinner continued like that, small comments, subtle digs, polite cruelty wrapped in fake smiles. And I let it happen every second of it because sometimes the best trap is the one people walk into willingly. Then dessert arrived, elegant, expensive, perfectly plated. And beside it sat the cake I brought, simple, cheap, untouched. A silent statement, you don't belong here. Catherine wiped her lips with her napkin and looked at me, smiling. But this time, it was different. You know, Diana, she said softly, I've been thinking about something all evening. I looked up, curious, naive, exactly how she expected. Oh, it must be difficult, she continued, raising a son on such a limited income. Immediately spoke. It's doing fine. Let me finish, Catherine said sharply, and just like that he went silent. She turned back to me, smile returning, controlled, calculated. That Ethan is part of our family, we want to make sure everything looks appropriate. Appropriate. Not comfortable, not fair, appropriate. I would hate for you to struggle while we have so much. It was not kindness, not generosity, superiority, Richard nodded. We were thinking perhaps a small monthly allowance. The words hung in the air, heavy, insulting, dangerous. Just enough, Catherine added, to help you live a little better. To avoid embarrassment, Richard said calmly. Silence. Ethan looked shocked. Emily looked uncomfortable. And all eyes turned to me. This was the moment. The test. I slowly blinked. Let my eyes soften. Let my voice tremble just slightly. I don't know what to say. That's incredibly kind of you. Even more perfect, Catherine smiled, satisfied she thought she had won. But she didn't realize something very important. She had just stepped into the trap. If you're serious, I continued softly, could we put it in writing? She paused just for a second, then smiled again. Of course. I've always believed, I added gently, that agreements should be documented, just for clarity. Richard nodded approvingly. Smart. Pulled out her phone. I'll send you an email tonight. In that moment, everything was sealed, because what she thought was generosity was actually evidence. Later that night, my phone buzzed. The email, I opened it slowly, read every word. Given your limited means, to avoid any embarrassment to the family, we will provide financial assistance. I smiled, then forwarded it, saved it, backed it up, because this wasn't just an email, it was a confession. They thought they were helping a poor woman survive, but in reality, they had just signed the document that would destroy them. The reveal that destroyed their world. Monday morning arrived. But this wasn't just another morning. This was the day everything changed. I stood in front of a full-length mirror. But this time, I wasn't wearing a cheap dress. No, that version of me was gone. Now I was wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, sharp, powerful, unapologetic. My hair tied back neatly, minimal jewelry, no softness left. This was the real me, Deanna Clark. CEO, the same woman they had insulted just 2 nights ago. I walked into my penthouse, the one Ethan had never seen, and picked up my phone. My assistant's message was already there. They've arrived. They're waiting in the conference room. Of course they were, confident, relaxed, smiling because they thought they were about to win. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. The Morgan Group headquarters stood tall in the center of the city. Glass, steel, power. I entered the building at exactly 8:55 am. Employees greeted me with respect. Some nodded. Some stood straighter. Because here I wasn't invisible. I was in charge. Inside the boardroom, Richard and Catherine Walker were seated comfortably, drinks in front of them, documents ready. They were smiling. I didn't walk in immediately. I waited outside the door for a moment, just one moment, because after this, their lives would never be the same again. Then I opened the door. "Good morning," I said. They looked up, casual, expecting someone else. Then they saw me, and everything stopped. Catherine's smile froze. Richard blinked once, twice, confusion, then recognition, then fear. "You," Catherine whispered. I stepped forward slowly, confident, controlled. I said calmly, "I believe we had dinner together." Silence, heavy, uncomfortable. "Please," I gestured to the chairs, "sit down." They were already sitting, but now they looked like they didn't belong there anymore. I moved to the head of the table, my seat, my place, and then I pressed a button. The screen behind me lit up. "Begin," I said. "First slide, their company. Walker Design Group, real numbers, not the fake ones. Your company is operating at a 62% loss," I said calmly. Richard leaned forward. "That's not..." I raised my hand. He stopped. "Let me finish. Next slide, emails, internal communication." Catherine's face turned pale. "These," I continued, "are conversations between you and your finance team." Pause. "Discussing how to hide losses." Click. "How to manipulate reports." Click. "How to avoid detection." Silence. "This isn't poor management," I said. "This is fraud." The room felt colder. Catherine tried to speak. "This is taken out of context." Not." I looked directly at her, steady, unblinking. "For 18 months, you've been trying to acquire my company." Pause. "But here's the part you didn't understand." I leaned slightly forward. "You're not buying us. We're buying you." The words hit like a bomb. Richard stood up suddenly. "That's impossible. It's already done." I clicked to the final slide. Signed documents. Legal confirmation, board approval. Your company was acquired this morning. His hands started shaking. "You planned this," she whispered. I smiled. "No, you did." She stared at me, broken. "I simply gave you the opportunity to reveal who you really are." The room was completely silent now. "You will remain," I continued calmly, "for a short transition period. Unpaid. Temporary. Replaceable." Richard sat down slowly, defeated. Catherine didn't move, because in that moment she finally understood something. She wasn't powerful anymore. She wasn't in control. She wasn't superior. She was finished. I closed the presentation. "Welcome to Morgan Group," I said, and just like that, it was over. They thought they were walking into a business deal, but they walked straight into their own downfall. And the woman they called poor now owned everything they had left. The truth they tried to bury. The boardroom was empty now. Everyone had left except her, Catherine Walker. She was still sitting there, frozen, like her body hadn't caught up with reality yet. I slowly gathered my files, closed my laptop, took my time because I knew she wasn't done. "Deanna," her voice finally came, low, shaking. "Wait." I stopped, but I didn't turn immediately. "Can we talk?" Now I turned slowly. "About what?" I asked calmly. She stood up, her confidence from 2 days ago gone, completely gone. "This isn't just business," she said. "You did this on purpose." I looked at her, straight, cold. I said quietly, "You did." Silence. "I don't even know what you're talking about," she snapped, but her voice lacked power. I stepped closer. "Chicago, 1999. And just like that, everything changed. Her face, her eyes, her breath, recognition. "You remember now?" I asked softly. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. "I was 26, I continued. Fresh out of university, ambitious, naive." "You're sharp. That designed the Millennium Project." Her lips parted slightly. "I created it." Silence. "You presented it." Her hands trembled. "You took credit." She shook her head. "That's not how it is exactly how it happened." Voice didn't rise, didn't shake, because I had lived this moment 1,000 times in my head. "I trusted you," I said quietly, "and you destroyed me." Now she couldn't look at me. "When I tried to speak," I continued, "you had me removed." Step closer. "Your husband made calls." Step. I was blacklisted. Now we were face to face. I lost my job. Breathing got heavier. "Home," she stepped back. "Future." Filled the room. "I slept in my car," I said softly, "for weeks." That hit her hard because for the first time she wasn't hearing a story, she was hearing consequences. "I had nothing," I continued. "Nothing except memory." She finally whispered, "I didn't know it got that bad." I smiled slightly, but there was no warmth in it. "You didn't care enough to know." That hurt her more than anything else because it was true. "You ruined my life," I said. "You made one mistake." She looked up slowly. "You thought I was gone." I wasn't. I stepped back, picked up my file. I rebuilt everything. Calm, controlled. I waited. Her voice broke. 25 years, you waited 25 years for this." I looked at her one last time. "No. I waited until you gave me the perfect moment." I pulled out the printed email, the one she sent, placed it on the table. "Recognize this." She stared at it, horror spreading across her face. "You called me limited." You offered me money to avoid embarrassment. I leaned slightly forward. You handed me proof of exactly who you still are. Silence. That email is now with legal teams, I said calmly. Ethics committees. Her knees almost gave out. She grabbed the chair. This will ruin us. I paused, then said quietly, you ruin me first. Silence. What happens now? She whispered. I picked up my bag. Now I walked toward the door. You live with it, hand on the handle. You watch everything you built. I opened the door. Disappear. I stopped, didn't turn back. And this time, pause. You'll remember my name. Then I walked out. When everything started falling apart, the news broke 48 hours later. It started small. A single article. A quiet headline buried in the business section. Walker Design Group under investigation after acquisition. But within hours it spread. One article became 10, 10 became hundreds. By evening it was everywhere, business channels, financial blogs, social media. And then, the real damage started. I was sitting in my office when my PR director walked in, tablet in hand, face serious. It's everywhere now, she said. I took the tablet, scrolled, there it was. The email, Catherine's words, clear, unedited. Given your limited means, to avoid embarrassment. I exhaled slowly, not satisfaction, not joy, just completion. Because now the world could see what I had seen 25 years ago, who they really were. The fallout was immediate, their bank accounts frozen, their business gone, their reputation destroyed. The same people who once praised them now avoided them. Charity boards removed their names. Clubs canceled their memberships. Friends stopped answering calls, because in their world reputation is everything. And once it cracks, it shatters completely. I didn't need to do anything more. The system handled the rest. That's the thing about real power. You don't chase revenge, you build something strong enough that truth destroys your enemies for you. But then something unexpected happened. My phone rang. Emily. I stared at the screen for a second, then answered. Hello, Mrs. Clark, can we meet? Her voice was quiet, controlled, but emotional. Of course, I said. We met at a small cafe far from everything. She was already there, sitting by the window, but she looked different, not like the confident woman from that dinner. She looked tired. Thank you for coming, she said softly. I sat down. You have questions, I said. She nodded, then asked the one thing that mattered most. Did you use Ethan to get to my parents? Silence, fair question. I looked her in the eyes. No. Her shoulders dropped slightly. I didn't know who you were when you two met, I continued. And when I found out, it was too late. Too late. You loved each other. Pause. I wasn't going to destroy that. She studied my face, searching for lies, but found none. Mother says you planned everything, she said quietly. I shook my head. They planned it 25 years ago. Silence. I told her everything, not with anger, not with drama, just truth. When I finished, she looked down at her coffee. I didn't know, she whispered. I know, I said gently. She looked up again. What happens now? That question again. But this time my answer was different. I reached into my bag, took out a file, and slid it toward her. She opened it. Read. Her eyes widened. This is a job offer, I nodded. Director of Social Impact, Morgan Group. She looked shocked. After everything, you're offering me this? Yes. Why? Simple answer. Because you're not your parents. You built your own career, I continued. You worked honestly. Pause. You deserve your own story. Her eyes filled with emotion. This isn't charity, I added. It's something you earned. She closed the file slowly. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. I stood up, then paused. Emily, she looked up. Let their mistakes define you. I walked away because this was never about destroying everyone. It was about balance, justice, and knowing the difference between those who hurt you and those who don't. The truth, the choice, and the twist no one saw coming, everything had changed. In just a few weeks, lives were rebuilt, and others completely destroyed. The Walker name gone, their company mine, their power finished. But the hardest part wasn't business. It was my son. Ethan called me that evening. We need to talk. His voice wasn't angry, not loud, just heavy. We met in a quiet parking garage, the same place he used to pick me up for dinners. But this time nothing was normal. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Who are you? He asked. Simple question, deep impact. I took a breath. I'm still your mother. He shook his head slightly. I mean, really. Pause. The apartment, the clothes, everything. You lied to me. That word hit because it was true. I hid things, I said calmly. Why? I looked at him. Because I needed to. For what? He asked. For this, I said. He frowned. You let them insult you. Yes. You let them think you were nothing. Yes. His voice cracked slightly. Why would you do that to yourself? I stepped closer. Because sometimes, pause, the only way to expose people is to let them feel powerful. Stared at me, processing. They humiliated you, he said quietly. I let them. Why? I held his gaze, because I knew it wouldn't last. Silence, he looked down. Emily told me everything. Pause. What they did to you. I nodded slowly. I didn't know, he whispered. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then he said something unexpected. I'm proud of you. I blinked, didn't expect that. But he added softly, I wish you trusted me. That hurt more than anything else. Sorry, I said honestly, and I meant it. Some battles, I continued. You don't know how to share until they're over. Nodded slowly. I get it, I think. Then he looked at me again. Promise me something. More secrets. I smiled slightly. More secrets. Stepped forward and hugged me not as a confused son, but as someone who finally understood. Weeks passed. The Walker empire faded completely. Their house sold, their social circle gone, their name, just another headline people forgot. Emily accepted the job. And she proved something important. She was different. She worked hard, led honestly, built something real, not inherited, not stolen, earned, and that mattered. But the real change happened inside me. One evening, I stood in my penthouse. Looking at the city, everything I built spread out below me. For 25 years, I lived for one thing. This moment, this revenge, this victory. And now it was over, completely over. And strangely, I felt something unexpected, not happiness, not satisfaction, but emptiness. Because when your entire life is built around proving something, what happens when you finally prove it? That night, I sent a message to my therapist. I think I'm ready to move on. Because I realized something important. This was never just revenge, it was closure. And closure doesn't give you a new life, it just gives you the chance to start one. Months later, I stood outside my company building. New name, new future, everything earned, everything real. My reflection looked back at me, not the weak woman they insulted, not the cold woman who destroyed them, but something else, someone free. They thought they destroyed a nobody 25 years ago, but what they actually created was the one person who would destroy them. And in the end, she didn't just take revenge, she took back her life.